Welcome, fluffy space cadets. I'm Nix, the keeper of the midnight tales. The night story is a creepy one. It may or may not be true. I will leave that up to you to decide. So, get comfortable. Pull your blanket a little closer. Turn the lights low. And whatever you do, don't look out the window. Because tonight's story starts with a road that isn't supposed to exist. It's called BlackWood. There are places in the world that seem to remind things, old houses, forgotten cemeteries, abandoned towns, and sometimes roads. BlackWood Road was one of those places. It appeared on no modern map. There was no road signal polishing towards it. No GPS could find it. And yet, even a few years, someone would say that they had driven on it. The stories were always different. Some people claimed they saw a town that disappeared before they were born. Others spoke of women standing in the snow, and a few never came home at all. The strange part, every story ends the same way. Someone would have heard a voice calling their name, and the voice would always come from somewhere they couldn't see. And this particular story belongs with a family simply trying to get home. Daniel Mercer had always thrived. For nearly 6 hours, his wife Claire sitting beside him, and their daughter Lily was asleep, bundled up in a thick blanket in the back seat. Outside, winter had swallowed the mountains. Snow drifted across the road. The trees swallowed, dull and the darkness against the black sky. The headlights barely reached beyond the falling snow. Inside the car, everything was warm and quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you sleepy. The kind that makes you forget how far away you are from anyone else. Claire glanced at the clock, 12:17 a.m. How much longer? Daniel smiled. About an hour. She sighed and glanced against the window. Lily shifted in the back seat. Then the radio flickered and whispered quietly, "Turn around." Daniel looked at the dashboard. The radio wasn't turned on. Claire hadn't heard anything. and neither of them spoke. Then the speaker crackled, and a woman's voice whispered again, "Turn around." Claire sat upright. This time she had heard it. Daniel reached towards the radio before his fingers could touch it. The voice spoke one final time. "Before she wakes." Silence. Claire slowly looked towards the back seat. Lily was still asleep. "Daniel, I know. Let's stop somewhere. There isn't anywhere to stop." Then turn around. Daniel looked at the road ahead. The snow was getting heavy. "We'll be fine." He didn't know it yet, but there would be the last ordinary thing anyone would say that night. A few miles later, they passed a wooden sign. Daniel barely noticed it. Claire did. She leaned forward. Did that say BlackWood? Daniel looked in the mirror. The sign disappeared behind them. What? "BlackWood, I think that's what I said." Daniel frowned. There was no town called BlackWood anywhere along their route. He checked the GPS. The blue light lit a straight line ahead. Everything looked normal. Then Lily spoke from the back seat. "The lady wants us to go back." Claire turned around. "What lady, sweetheart?" Lily was sitting up now. Her eyes were open. She was staring through the rearview window. "The lady on the road." Daniel's hands gripped around the steering wheel. Claire looked behind them. There was nothing. There was nobody. Lily shook her head. She was there. Daniel looked in the mirror for half a second. He saw her, the woman standing in the middle of the road. Long grey coat, long dark hair. One hand hanging at her side, the other raised towards the car. Then the snow swallowed her whole. Daniel paused, hard on the gas. The road narrowed. The forest closed around them, and then somewhere, straight ahead, the snow stopped completely. One moment, the blizzard, the next, clear skies. The road ahead was dry, the moonlight was shining, and there wasn't a single snowflake on the trees. Claire stared out the window. How did this happen? Daniel didn't answer. He was staring at the GPS. The map had disappeared. In its place were 3 words. Location unknown. Then another line appeared. Please remain on road. Claire laughed nervously. There. It's not creepy at all. Daniel did not laugh because he had just noticed something else. The road they were driving on wasn't the road boundaries. Daniel slowed down. We need to turn around. He turned the wheel. The road curved, and somehow they were still going forward. He turned again, another curve, still forward. The road didn't turn around. It simply continued. Then they saw a light, a town, hidden deep within the forest. Warm yellow, windows glowing beneath the trees. A church, covered in roses on the rooftop. There was a little diner, a gas station, a row of wood houses. Claire stared. Where did they come from? Daniel didn't know. But Lily smiled. We're here. Claire turned towards her. Where? Lily pointed through the windshield. Oh. Daniel stopped the car. He didn't like the way she said it. Not like a child guessing. Like someone who knew. They entered the town slowly. The streets were empty. Every house had its light on, but there wasn't a single person outside. No one. The car parked along the road were covered in dust. Some had weeds growing through the wheels. One had a layer of moss across the windshield. One looked as though the entire house had been waiting for years. Then Daniel noticed something. Every clock they passed showed the same time. 12:17 a.m. The clock at the diner, the clock at the church tower, the clock at the shop window. Clara looked at her phone. She refreshed the screen. Still 12:17 a.m. Daniel checked the car clock. It was the same. The second hand wasn't moving. Lily paused. She whispered, "Don't wake them." Daniel looked at her in the mirror. "Wake who?" She pointed towards the houses, the people. Something moved behind one of the windows, then another. A face appeared behind the glass. Pale faces, silver faces, watching the car. Clara glanced at Daniel's arm. "Drive," he did. At the end of the street stood an old diner, its neon lights flickering lightly. The last stop. The front door opened. The bell chimed. Nobody stepped outside. Daniel barked. Clara shook her head. "No. We need help." Daniel knew. But Lily was already looking at the diner. "They're waiting for us." Inside the diner smelled like coffee and wood. There were dozens of tables. Every table was empty. Except one. 3 cups sat there. 3 separate cups of coffee. One large, one small, and one somewhere in between. Daniel stared at them. "How?" elderly woman stepped into the light. She had silver hair and a long, dark black dress, and a tiny silver star hanging around her neck. She looked at Lily, then at Claire, then at David. Her expression slowly changed to fear. "You're not supposed to be here." David swallowed. "I got lost." The woman shook her head slowly. "No." She looked towards the window. "You were found." David didn't understand. "From who?" The woman whispered. "BlackWood." The light flickered. The woman rushed towards the door and locked it. "Listen to me." Her voice had become urgent. "When you leave this diner, don't follow the roadsides. Don't follow anyone. And if you hear someone calling your name..." She stopped. Her eyes moved towards Lily. "Don't answer." 3 snow blocks sounded against the window. The old woman closed her eyes. "Oh no." Daniel looked towards the window. A figure stood outside, a woman in a grey coat. She was facing the diner. Her hair covered her face. One hand was pressed against the glass. Lily whispered, "That's her." The old woman looked at Lily. "Don't let her see you." "But she already knows my name." The old woman's face went pale. "What did you say?" Lily pointed at the window. "She knows my name." The woman outside slowly lifted her hand. Her hair moved from her face. There was nothing beneath it. Nothing at all. It was completely smooth, gray, silky skin. Then the diner lids went out. Claire screamed. Something screamed against the back of the front door. Once, twice, then again. The old woman whispered, "Don't speak." Daniel held Lily close. The thing outside scraped against the glass, slowly, patiently, like it knew they had nowhere to go. Then a voice came from outside. "Daniel." It was Claire's voice. Daniel froze. Claire was standing beside him. The voice came again. "Daniel, open the door." Claire began to cry. "That's not me." The voice changed. It became Lily. "Daddy." Daniel looked down. Lily was standing, still in his arms. The thing outside whispered again, "Daddy." Then it started to laugh. And suddenly, every person in the town began knocking on their windows. Hundreds of hands, hundreds of faces. Every house, every window, every door. The entire town had woken. The old woman grabbed a small brass key from beneath the counter. "There's a road behind Daniel stared at her. Where does it go? Home. Claire looked relieved. The old woman shook her head. Only if you're lucky. She handed Daniel the key. Whatever happens, don't look back. The back door opened into the alley. Daniel looked at Claire's hand. Claire took Lily's. Then they ran. Behind them, the diner door bursted open. Footsteps flooded inside. Too many footsteps to count. They reached the road. Daniel unlocked the car. They climbed inside. He started the engine. The headlights came on. The road ahead was covered in fog. Claire whispered, "Don't look back." Daniel nodded. They drove. For several minutes, there was nothing. No voices, no footsteps, no town. Just the road. Then Lily began to cry. Claire turned towards her. "What is it?" Lily pointed behind them. "Someone sitting back there." Claire's face went pale. Daniel looked in the mirror. An empty back seat. Lily was there. Claire was there. Nobody else. "There's no one there." Lily shook her head. "She's hiding." The car suddenly began to feel frozen. It was absolutely freezing cold. Frost appeared across the windows. The radio turned on. Static filled the car. Then a woman's voice whispered, "Daniel." Daniel didn't answer. Claire. Claire covered her ears. Then the voice said Lily's name. Lily stopped crying. She looked towards the radio and smiled. She said, "We're almost there." Daniel stared at the road. "Don't listen to her," Lily whispered. "But Daddy." She said you're the one who invited her. Daniel's blood ran cold. "I never invited anyone." Lily tilted her head. "Not tonight." The road suddenly disappeared. The car road was stop. Everything outside went black. There were no trees, no snow, no moon, nothing. Then headlights appeared in the distance. Another car was approaching. Slowly, very slowly. Daniel watched it come closer. The car stopped beside them. The driver rolled down the window, and then David saw his own face sitting behind the wheel. The other David smiled. Then he raised one finger to his lips. The car drove again. David couldn't breathe. Claire stared at him. What was that? He didn't answer, because the GPS had turned back on. One final message appeared. "You have arrived." The darkness disappeared. The morning light filled the windshield. The family was sitting outside their cabin. Their actual cabin. The storm was gone. Birds were singing. The road looked completely normal. Claire whispered, "We're home." David looked towards the back seat. Lily was asleep. He smiled. For the first time all night, he felt safe. Then he noticed something on the floor. A small brass key. The same key the old woman had given him. He picked it up. There was a tiny engravement on the side. A date. October 14th, 1958. David remembered the diner, the woman, the town, the people behind the windows. He searched the internet. There had become a town called BlackWood, but it had disappeared in 1958. The winter storm had buried the road. 23 people had vanished. No bodies were ever found. The town was eventually removed from all maps. Daniel stared at the screen. Then he found an old newspaper photo. The picture showed the people in BlackWood standing outside the diner. There was an old woman. There was the people from the windows. And standing at the edge of the photo was the woman in the grey coat. But there wasn't just her in the frame. In the photo, she wasn't standing alone. She was holding hands with a little girl, and the little girl was holding a stuffed rabbit. Daniel slowly turned towards the hallway. Lily's bedroom door was open. Her stuffed rabbit was sitting on the floor. Beside it was a small brass key. Daniel walked towards the back door of her bedroom. He stopped in the hallway. Lily was asleep. Her face was peaceful. Then she opened her eyes. She looked directly at him and smiled. "Daddy." "Yes." "Can we go back tomorrow?" David felt every hair on his body stand up. "Back where?" Lily looked towards the window. "To BlackWood." Daniel looked outside at the edge of the forest. Stood a woman in a grey coat. She raised one hand and waved. Daniel blinked. She was gone. But beneath the window, fresh footsteps appeared at the window. They led from the forest to the house and stopped beneath Lily's window. So, sleepy space cadets, what do you think of BlackWood? Road, is it real? Was it from strange places caused beneath one moment or another? Or was it simply a story born from an exhausted, snowy, and frightened family lost in the mountains? I'll let you decide. But for your every drive later tonight, and you see a road that isn't on your map, keep going. Don't turn around. And if someone stares in at the darkness and raises an hand. Don't stop. Because some roads don't want to take you somewhere. They want to tell you something else. And if you hear something or someone whisper your name from the back seat, don't answer, because they may not be asking you to let them in. They may already be inside. Good night, fluffy space cadets. And remember, I'm Nyx, the keeper of the Midnight Tales. And as always, stay spooky.